Candidates Forum. And tonight we're going to have the pastor of the Hutchinson Missionary Baptist Church, Cameron Thomas, come speak and welcome you all.
And they all said amen.
Amen.
Oh, good evening, good evening. I want to say on behalf of everyone associated with Hutchinson Missionary Baptist Church, how grateful we are for the chance to welcome you into our space, but yet to have a conversation that is important and pivotal to our community. I want to say, as pastor of this church, it is not lost upon me the important as well as intricately woven relationship between church and community. And so I'm so grateful to be able to stand in this space as pastor in order to welcome you to our amazing space. We invite you to share. We're so grateful for these mayoral candidates. I met with them. I've spoken my heart to them, and I'm grateful for their aspiration to serve our community. If you don't mind, I'm going to pray for us as we begin our time together. And after that, we shall be in the hand of our moderator. Let us pray together. God of grace, God of glory, grant us grateful hearts for our time together. Realizing, Father, that as we are in this sacred space, in this time, it is not lost on us the way in which, in yesteryear, the church and the community had such an intricately woven relationship that it served as a beacon of light and hope for the entire world. We pray, Father, that as we come to this space tonight, that you would be in our midst, provide clarity, insight, as well as we pray for these candidates, that they would be able to articulate and bring back to their remembrance that which they aspire to do for our community. And we ask that as we are here, you be with your people, as you are God and we are your people. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you and welcome to the
Again, I'm Jasmine Watson, and I'm the moderator for this evening's Mayoral Candidate Forum, and we would also like to say welcome. And we're going to start off by introducing the partners that brought this forum to you all. First, we're going to welcome the Rolling to the Polls Voting Initiative and the Beta Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the Montgomery Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Beta Sorority Incorporated. First, we would like the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha to stand so we can welcome you. And now we will have the president of the Beta Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
Good evening. Good evening. Oh, now I know. You've been at work all day, and I stand between you and some great men. So we're going to try it again. Good evening. Good evening. We want you here to first recognize that, to realize that we appreciate you taking your time to come to this point, at this day, at this hour, to listen and hear what these gentlemen have to say to you. It's important that we know the leaders that we're intending to have. So it's important to Delta Sigma Theta, as well as the Rolling to the Polls organization, and also Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So these are the types of forums that we intend to have. You know, we are a mighty force of women. It's a whole lot of us. And we do a wonderful amount of work in and out of this community. So we want you to know that we appreciate you for coming. And we want you to do two things: listen and ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Please stand so we can welcome you. Now, y'all might be a little confused, but I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. I have love free today to show that we love our sorority. Yes. So now, lastly, we want to thank you again to the Hutchinson Missionary Baptist Church for providing the space for this forum. And I want to start off by introducing our candidates. So, we're going to also have our president. How can I forget? Our president, former
Good evening, everybody. I am Tanya Stevens, and I serve as president of the Montgomery Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We are delighted to be here in this partnership with the Rolling to the Polls Initiative and the Beta Nu Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I probably don't say that Alpha Kappa Alpha the way you do. That's okay, I got Delta Sigma Theta. But we are delighted to be here to hear from our candidates this evening so that they can share with us and we can ask questions, as it has been mentioned, about what they propose to do to support us as individuals, as sororities, fraternities, family members, sons, daughters, everyone here in the community. So we certainly want to hear from you all, and we thank you for being here today. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is founded on social action. That's what we do. We have always been involved in social action. Voter registration, voter suppression, voter awareness and involvement. Delta Sigma Theta has been there, and we will continue to be there. So, on behalf of the Executive Committee, the Executive Board, and the entire membership of the Montgomery Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, making sure y'all can see me on y'all's little recordings, we thank you for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to remind you that this is also put on by the Social Action Committee of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated with the Montgomery Alumni Chapter. And we're going to recognize Felicia Brown and Silver Alicia Elmore. They're just going to stand and wave you all. They work tirelessly to put this together. Now we can get to what we all came here for tonight, okay? This mayoral candidates forum. I'm going to start off by introducing our candidates. And we're going to have, to my left, Victoria Felder, Barrett Gilbert, and Marcus McNeil, and Stephen Reed. These are our candidates for tonight. Can we give them a hand? Again, welcome, candidates. Before we begin, we want to give the rules for tonight's forum. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for opening statements. Following opening statements, each candidate will answer questions. These answers will be limited to no more than 2 minutes, and each candidate will be given a chance to answer. The timekeeper, to my right, will hold a card visible to each candidate indicating that 30 seconds remain. When the time is up, the timekeeper will flash another card, and the speaker must end promptly. Please remember to be courteous and respectful to each other. There will be no speaking off topic or off-color remarks. Doing so will be called out of order by myself, the moderator. This forum is meant to inform the citizens of our community and create an opportunity for the community to continue building. Let us begin. Starting, we're going to have our opening statements. First, we have Victoria Felder. If you'd like to begin.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. She said, my name is Victoria Felder. This is my second go around for the mayor. But this time I'm smiling a bit more. The last time I was told I was taking it a bit too serious. But the situation then is way worse than the situation now. 250 plus murders in counting. 250 plus murders in counting, and we still haven't found a way to address it. We still haven't taken it as serious as we need to take it, in my opinion. So my plan and my platform is based off safety and unity. We talk with different citizens, and a lot of people feel as though we're not united. They feel like people are having to pick sides. And a lot of people don't feel as though that's fair. So my plan is to bring everybody together, regardless of party affiliation, regardless of religion, regardless of race. My job is to unify the city, but my main priority would be to make the city safe. So we're losing too many lives, and it's being overlooked. And that's another part that I feel that needs to be addressed. We have too many people that have too much influence that goes along to get along and not address the serious problem that's at hand. And there's too many people in our city losing lives. Too many mothers are crying and screaming because their son is not here. So I feel as though in this campaign, in this election, that we need to focus more on safety. We need to focus more on preserving life. So as you listen tonight, I ask you to vote based off platform, not preference, not off last name, not based off who you're cool with. Listen to the platform of each candidate, and I feel as though when you make your decision off of that, at least you can do it with a sincere heart. Thank you.
I'm Mayor Gilbert. First, I want to thank y'all for having this forum here. Thank you to Pastor Thomas. Thank you to the organizations for having this forum. I'm just grateful for the opportunity. Never did I dream I would get into politics. Never did I dream I would have this opportunity. I didn't come from anything. I remember as a kid pushing a wheelbarrow full of bricks. I worked at Burger King in high school to work my way through high school and college. I worked at Express Oil Change, and I worked waited tables. Everything in my life I've worked hard for. And Montgomery's my home, and I wouldn't change my effort or the work I've had to put in for anything. I'm here because this place is home. I'm here because I believe in its people. I'm here because I believe in our future. We all know that we have a lot of problems that we face today. We'll talk about plenty of them tonight. My goal for this campaign has been from the start for it to be about one people, one Montgomery. Not division, but unity. I truly believe we can solve the issues we face in Montgomery if we will put aside division, come together, work together for a better Montgomery. My goal for my campaign when I started this was so that every single person in Montgomery was proud to call it home. Every single person. And that's been my goal, and it will be my goal. And I thank you for having me.
Good afternoon. My name is Marcus McNeil. Before I say anything, I just have to say, let's first give honor to God. We can't sit in his house and not mention his name and not give honor to him. So let's give honor to him. I am the youngest candidate on this panel. I'm 29. I joined the race because I feel that it is time for Montgomery, Alabama to reenact what took place here in the 50s and 60s when we all came together regardless of race, gender, background, political organization, or affiliations, and show the world that we too do care about our city and the direction that it's going. It's time for us to stop sitting in front of caskets and start sitting in front of graduates. It's time for us to save our youth, our age, our millennials, our generational Z, and bring them back into the circle of life and teach them about having a voice and having a place in administration, that they can run for political office and that they can run for city council. It's time to stop seeing them paraded on Facebook out of the crime center going to jail for crimes and being a part of gangs, and it's time to start seeing them in roads. Of course, we have a crime problem in the city, but unless we address poverty, unless we partner with our nonprofit organization, unless we have an administration that has an open door policy where you don't have to schedule to meet with the mayor and maybe go through a bunch of red tape, we will never ever get to where we're supposed to go until we have a transparent, open government and that we all join together in unity regardless of our background. Thank you.
Good evening. I want to thank the pastor and welcome him to the city of Montgomery. I want to thank all the members of the Hutchinson Street Baptist Church. I'm Stephen Reed. It's been an honor to be the mayor of my hometown for the last 3.5+ years. It has been a great 3.5+ years that we have done tremendous work. I want to thank all of you ladies, Delta Sigma Theta, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, all of you, whether you're in a sorority or fraternity or not, for the work that you've been doing in this community. The last 3.5 years have seen a lot of progress. We have invested in education for the first time in over 35+ years, bringing in an additional $33 million. That didn't happen by itself. It happened because we made it hard. And it happened because many of you got behind that effort when many people said we couldn't because we never had. Second, we made tremendous growth as it relates to economic development. We were the state's job leader in the year 2022. We work with our county commissioners, we work with our school board members, we work with faith leaders, private sector leaders, community leaders to make sure this community reinvested in itself to the tune of $1.7 billion of invested dollars, to a record for the city's economic growth. And so we have seen tremendous work there, and we have invested not only there, but also to make sure that opportunity is brought to all parts of the community, whether that's focusing on the west side corridor, south side corridor, making sure that this government has been responsive. And we did all that while putting our city in the best financial condition it's been in over 30 years. So when you consider the financial record, you consider the leadership that we displayed throughout crisis, whether it was COVID-19 or whether it was post-George Floyd, we have had a tremendous record and a tremendous administration that we've run. I'll finish up my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now we will move on to our moderated questions. The first question being, what's your vision for the city? We'll start off with Victor Spelman. What's your vision for the city?
My vision for the city is for it to be safe. For people to feel as though that they're comfortable going on any side of town shopping. For our youth, to have a better vision for our youth. Right now, I don't feel as though there's enough attention and there's enough planning around for things for them, for our community centers or for our after-school programs. So my vision for Montgomery is to see us excel on those levels. Also, we're going to focus on business. I want to see our underserved communities grow. I was on the west side the other day and I did a video on Fairview. And Fairview is looking the same as it looked 20 years ago with the Calhoun food. If you go to the north side, you see that side declining. If you go on the south side, you go around the Normandale area, you see that part declining. So there's not enough economic growth throughout the city. So my vision for Montgomery is to see the entire city grow economically, not just the main two sides that we all see, east, chase, and downtown. Not to take away from those two areas. I think we should grow those areas also. But my vision for Montgomery is to see the city safe, is to see economic development spread throughout the city, and for it to be fair government.
My vision's been the same since we started the campaign, and I'll say it again, just like I did in my opening statements. Every single person who lives in this town should be proud to call it home. Doesn't matter what political party you affiliate with, it doesn't matter what neighborhood you live in. We are all Montgomery. Crime affects us all. When it affects us, we're not proud. We end up having a reduced quality of life. My vision for the city is for every single person to be proud to call it home. That doesn't mean I have a magic wand or every answer to every question on day one. What it means is if you elect me, you elect we. Because we can't do this as one person in an office or one administration in an office. It's going to take involvement from every neighborhood. North, south, east, west, every single neighborhood. I've been in 15 neighborhood association meetings over the last 25 days since I've been in this campaign. And to a person, they all say, we want our voice heard. We want our neighborhoods to be safe. We want our trash picked up. We want to be proud of Montgomery. And right now we're not. My vision for the city is for every single person in this city to be proud to call it home.
My vision for Montgomery, Alabama would be to build a more lucrative local administration, one that's more productive, one that not only brags on having the best budget, but uses the budget to utilize and put it in the places where it needs to be put, such as with our first responders, by giving them a competitive wage on a national average, allowing our police officers to have vehicles that they can take home vehicles and operating equipment so that they can respond to calls and get to calls faster. We have some calls where sometimes they take hours to get to them. So to build a more lucrative first responders department, as well as focus on education. Montgomery is too big and too old not to have a city school system. Although we thank the county, we thank MPS, my vision would be to bring in consultants to see if Montgomery can hold its own school system. Because even though we're working with the Board of Education, the city really still does not have a say-so in the school system as we should. And me being a product of MPS, even though I'm grateful, we need our own city school system. On top of that, it would be to partner with our clergy and nonprofit organizations to give them the power back to tackle homelessness, mental health issues, and other issues that plague our community. So my vision for the city would be to build a more lucrative administration at City Hall.
You know, our vision for the city is where we started a little bit over 4 years ago. And it is around building a city that's focused on opportunity, to live, learn, and earn. And we talked about that and we practiced that in everything that we have done. And when you look at making things equitable, it's not very easy to do that in a city that has had a conservative approach to government in terms of how policies are implemented. So what we've done is we've taken that on in the last 3.5 years that we've been in office. And I think what we have seen is we've seen the improvements, we've seen the growth, we passed the Montgomery Ford Initiative, which was a $50 million bond referendum that we get to put money back into the community. Parks and Recreation, Community Center, West Montgomery, South Montgomery, North Montgomery, many places that need an impact investment spurred by the government. And so when you look at our approach to collaborating with public-private partnerships, it has been things from education to public health to small business growth. And for us, that's a big issue. Now, finally, what we decided was we knew we had to address the issue around public safety and crime. And so we brought about the Office of Violence Prevention. The city had never had that office, and it's a proactive community-based approach to being in the community and trying to find out how you prevent and reduce crime across our communities. So reimagining government and making sure that government is responsible to the needs of the citizens is what we'll continue to do over these next 4 years should we be elected. Thank you.
The next question is, what are your plans to improve infrastructure? We will begin with Barrett Gilbert.
Infrastructure is obviously a big issue. So I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of guys on our street maintenance teams here in Montgomery. And they are working as hard as I've seen anybody work. Now, I will say they are short-staffed and they are short on equipment. We need to prioritize the roads that are in the biggest need, but we also have to make sure that the city departments where these guys are operating every single day, we've got to raise them around. They're short-staffed, they're overworked, and they're underpaid. We have to do better by our city employees. We have to give them the resources they need to do the job. Again, I think the guys do a fantastic job on the streets that we have, but we need more resources. We need better equipment. We need newer equipment. This is true for any of our city equipment. We should be moving to a leasing schedule for this equipment as opposed to a capital expenditure type system. When you have a leasing schedule, it comes with maintenance programs. And you don't run into situations where you have antiquated, obsolete, outdated equipment that no one knows how to work on because you've lost mechanics. So we have to prioritize street paving. We also have to have a better relationship with our State Department of Transportation because, as you all know, places like Atlanta Highway, Vaughn Road, these are the bypass, these are state highways where we have to be cooperative with our state agencies and have good relationships with state government to make sure that we can cooperatively meet the needs of our infrastructure. It's all about communication, collaboration, and cooperation, but we will make our infrastructure better.
As far as infrastructure goes, I believe that falls back on our city's budget. Again, we brag about saving money, but what good is saving money when we have grass on the side of roads taller than our cars? We pull over inside that grass and step out, and there's a snake in there, it wraps around our leg. What good is it? What good is it? Driving down the boulevard, the trees in the middle are so bushy, you can't even see to the other side. You don't know if a car is having an accident and they're ready to come across that median and hit you. What good is saving money when your grass is overgrown, when trash is everywhere? It's no good. So we have to look at our budget. We have to honor our budget. And we have to allocate money to the right departments. Make sure the people in the department heads are qualified to be there. And it's not just a job that they have as a payback or a friend or just because they happen to get it. Make sure that they're qualified to be there, that they know how to run the department, that they know how to handle the skills, infrastructure, and things that need to be done, that they're actually getting out in the communities and paying attention to what's happening. And that comes, again, by having an open door policy and hearing from you guys one-on-one. Thank you.
Now, I want us to be clear. When you say infrastructure, we're not talking about capital equipment. That's what trucks are. We're not talking about personnel. That's what hiring staff are. So when we talk about infrastructure, I take the roads and bridges, water and sewer, high-speed internet, things of that nature. So I'm going to try to answer your question. Roads and sewers are things that we have put more dollars in under this administration than we have in several years. Part of that has been because our revenue has been up. That's indicative of the type of financial position that the city is in. And so when you consider where we are with roads and sewers, I am pleased that we've been able to work with our leaders in our legislative caucus to bring about American Rescue Plan Act dollars to invest water and sewer infrastructure at a higher level than the city has in decades in North and West Montgomery. Sorely needed, certainly necessary for many, many residents who have felt disconnected from the city. Second thing is high-speed internet. Through our American Rescue Plan Act approach, working with the county and collaborating, we've already done a broadband study. And so from that, we have reached out to the NTIA, which is the government entity at the federal level, which will help us bring high-speed internet to more places in the city that we currently have. I was surprised to learn about the gaps that we had during COVID when we had so many students and so many people who could not get on to Zoom classes because of that. So those are just two of the areas around infrastructure that we're working on, with certainly much more that we can talk about, and I'll try to address that later on. Thank you.
Depending on which community that you go in and talk with residents of, infrastructure is an issue to some. I remember in 2019, as I was running this prior to me when we joined office, I saw a program where I heard excuses about why certain communities couldn't get new sidewalks, new streets paved. And as I did my research, I saw that there were different grants, a lot of federal grants available for underserved communities. So when Court Street finally got their sidewalks or their streets to be paved, and the issue was, or the excuse was, the budget. So I'm wondering now, why do we still have communities that haven't had the road paved in over 20 years when we have a lot of these areas of communities that fit certain federal programs and grants that are out there for these communities? So I feel as though if we have the correct leadership in place, if we have people that are actually active, more motivated about doing the job, then we can correct some of this infrastructure here. Downtown was mentioned. One of the guys that I talked with felt as though to have one of the main streets going to downtown and having potholes and the infrastructure not fitting for a downtown area, that was a concern for him. Infrastructure and beautification, to me, those two go together. I see some of the things that are taking place on the west side with the Montgomery impact. I think that needs to be added also. And again, we go back to different areas of underserved communities. And when we talk about infrastructure, these are the areas of concern. So what do? Again, we can go in the budget. If the money is not there in the budget, the main thing we want to do is find grants. What is available in these communities that need better roads, better sidewalks, and better sewer systems? So to me, in my opinion, from the research that I've done, if we go back and we get correct leadership in, people that care about doing the job, then we can have better infrastructure throughout.
off-topic or off-color remarks, let's keep them out of the conversation. Okay, gentlemen? Yes, so we're going to go on to our next question, which is, how do you attract more business and investment to the city? And we'll begin with Marcus McNeil.
To attract more business to the city, I think I will give the mayor, props for props to do. I think they're set a good foundation for it. But we have a lot more businesses that can start within our city, right here, new businesses and small businesses and entrepreneurs that can add to the new businesses coming in from outside. We have a lot of abandoned, dilapidated property that these small businesses and small business ideas can go in and begin to thrive. It may not be the idea of big 500 Fortune company that can bring in millions and millions of dollars, but a small business can grow to be a very strong business that anchors itself in the community over a period of time, such as gymnastics cleaners and other small businesses that have started here and remain here and be more lucrative than a big corporation that will come and the minute that the market drop, they're out. And now you got a big abandoned building in your neighborhood that you don't know what to do with. So I think we have to invest in the small businesses that are right here and entrepreneurs that are right here in Montgomery.
As a former small business owner, I think it's vitally important that we understand that small businesses represent well over 95% of our economy. And most of those businesses are family run, many of them are sole proprietorships. So for us, a small business has been a great focus. We created for the first time in the city's history a Department of Economic Development. The city had not had that prior to 2019 to better serve all businesses throughout this community and to make sure that we could recruit and retain those businesses that are here, but also attract those that we want to come. I think that has paid off. Again, in the record-setting 2022 year that we've had, but I think it's also paid off in making sure that businesses throughout the city feel like there's someone in City Hall that's coming out to hear what it is they need and what we can do better. As a government, it is not something that can turn on a light switch on and off. And as someone who's been on the other side of that in the food service and restaurant business, I certainly understand the challenges of workforce, but also the challenges of the marketplace itself. And so whether it is working with two-year college systems on partnering with them for workforce training, for hospitality and tourism, whether it's working with Maxwell Air Force Base to make sure that we are tuning into the tech initiatives that the Department of Defense has, or whether it is just listening to some of those long-time stakeholders that we've had here about what they need from City Hall and what will help them grow their business, and implementing that by joining programs such as Main Street Alabama. Those are things that we have done to continue to recruit and retain those businesses, and we look forward to continued growth moving forward.
You attract more businesses by making it safe, first of all. A lot of people, when they tend to open a business, they want to make sure they're in an area where they're not going to be burglarized, they're not going to be robbed. So I was speaking with an influential politician. I was asking why certain communities couldn't get certain things like an upscale restaurant or a nice grocery store. And one of the things that was relayed back to me was, when you think of these areas, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? And they spoke out crime. So it's really hard to sell bringing businesses here because of crime. Another thing is, I would hire a CBO, Chief Business Officer. That's someone that would look into different strategies as to what we lack, what more do we need, how do we attract business owners that are here, that may leave and go to Atlanta or different cities because they feel as though the city doesn't back, they don't get enough promo. So I feel as though we need to have more city leaders that are over that area, whether it be a council person, whether it be the mayor, whether it's someone from the mayor's office, to where they go out and they promote. You bring your news media out, you have your newspaper people out, you make sure that you promote this business that is going to influence other people to want to stay open business here in Montgomery.
Recruiting businesses is no different than recruiting employees. Employees want to know that they're going to work in a place that's safe. They want to go work in a place where their employer has their back. They also want to know they're going to work in a place where they have upward career opportunities. When you look around and you look at the companies that have left Montgomery, in order to recruit them back, we have to provide those three things: qualified workforce, safe place in which to operate, and long-term growth possibilities. The $1.7 billion in growth in our logistical hub, if you will, Montgomery is at a great intersection of two interstates. We have a great railroad system. We have a great river. Trucks can come in and out of an intermodal facility that don't care about our schools. They don't care necessarily about spending money in hotels. Those opportunities came here because of our geographical location relative to our logistical possibilities. What's not coming here are the jobs for our kids to grow up here, come back here for careers, and build their own families here. We have to do a better job creating high growth opportunities, high paying jobs, and career opportunities. That's how you bring businesses back here. But they won't do that if we can't fix the crime issue, because again, they have to have a safe place in which to operate, a well-trained and productive workforce, and long-term growth opportunities for their business.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and ask you this question. What strategies do you have to reduce crime?
Thank you. We've heard a lot about crime, and I think it's important for this community to understand that we realize how important public safety is. I was held up at gunpoint as a small business owner, so no one has to remind me about crime or safety. I was held up in my restaurant on Carmichael Road, so it didn't matter what part of town I was in. We were closing up, and we were robbed. That was our third time being robbed. So I understand it quite better than most. But I also understand that men and women of the Montgomery Police Department and many men and women and young people in this community are doing a great job to help us make this community safe. We have seen crime go up across this country, but in Montgomery, crime has been down for the last 2 years. It was down 8.4% last year, and so far this year is down about 4%, 3.8 to be exact. So we've seen it kind of moderately flat. Now that doesn't matter if crime happens to you. If it happens to you, it's up 100%. So you don't care about the burglaries, you don't care about the property crime. So we understand that. But I think for us, what we want to continue to do is to work with the community to provide opportunities for people who may be on the margins. That's why we're reinvesting tens of millions of dollars in our community centers. That's why we're bringing about apprenticeship programs through public-private partnerships and small businesses. That's why we work with faith leaders to try to get feedback from them about what we can do in certain communities to target the opportunities that we have brought to Montgomery to make sure they penetrate those communities that feel like they are left out. And so I think when you invest in education, when you invest in opportunity, and when you invest in those people that feel like they can be a part of the growth, then you will see positive numbers as it relates to crime. And so for us, I think taking the 21st century approach, creating the Office of Violence Prevention, and continuing our outreach as we try to make this city safer each and every day while fighting the legislature which passes permitless carry bills over the police chiefs, sheriff's department, and district attorneys is very, very important for us to do, and we'll continue to do it. Thank you.
I have over 15 years of law enforcement experience. I'm the only candidate with any law enforcement experience. The first thing I would do is raise the pay for the police officers. So from the research that I've done, yes, we've seen crime go up throughout the nation, but we've also seen crime being reduced throughout the nation. So I think we have to find ways to make this thing work. One is increase the pay. You increase the pay, you get more officers, you increase patrol. When you increase patrol, people are less likely to do things when they see the police officers. So right now, we're short-staffed. So let's say we can partner with the Department of, we partner with the Sheriff's Department. We can get them to patrol the areas of District 1 and 9. The officers that we do have in 1 and 9, we can rotate them back over to Districts 5 and 6. So that's going to increase your patrol in those areas. 1 and 9 are less likely to have, or they may any low level or low volume crime areas. So you try to find a way to get officers to shift over to your high crime areas. So the saying of crime is everywhere is true, but I live in Montgomery, I don't live everywhere. What's the plan to decrease crime in our city? And I feel as though it's a program, PSSA, that's out now, that has a proven record of reducing crime. So why aren't we looking at these things to make sure that our citizens are safe? Also, there's another one, smart water. Smart water covers burglary. So if you're a business owner or you're a homeowner, it's a technology to where it sprays this, it's a non-chemical spray that they put on you to where it has a coating. So if someone breaks in your home, these sprayers don't go for at least up to 9 years. So if they do get caught, the police will have this black light that they can shine on you, and it sends out a different code to show that you did break into this establishment or you broke into this home. So there are a lot of different areas that can be covered with crime, only if you did the right research.
Montgomery's on pace for 85 murders this year. That's up from last year. It's up from 2 years ago. Last year, we dipped into the 60s after having more than 70 murders in 2021. I don't believe for a minute that one person can solve the murder crisis we have in this city, because you're not going to be inside a home where two people get into an argument and it devolves into gun violence. In my opinion, the way you have to fight crime and curb crime in the city starts with enforcement. But as everyone has said, we're short officers. We know right now we have over 150 officers short in the city of Montgomery. That's not a wishful thinking number. That's the number of officers that were settled on by the city council and the mayor in the budget in this city. We're not trying to over-police. We're trying to get as many officers that this city requires based on formulas for law enforcement. Again, no magic wand. You can't flip a switch and hire 150 officers overnight. But it's partnerships with the Alabama law enforcement agencies. It's partnerships with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Department to do regular police, regular protecting and serving, regular police work, to do traffic stops. Traffic stops are a great deterrent in preventing crime as opposed to trying to be reactive. But more than that, once we do get our numbers up, we can't be selective in the laws we enforce. We have to start making traffic stops again. We have to do the small things. We have to focus our attention on enforcing the laws we have to make everyone aware that crime in this city won't be tolerated. It's pretty simple. Augment the force with partnering agencies to where we can get our own numbers up, give them a reason to come back to work here, and we'll get it solved.
Reducing crime is a complex situation, not just for city government, our mayor, our city council, our police department, but for everybody, community included. So of course we can keep saying the same thing over and over. We have to pay attention to the budget, we have to increase the force, but we also have to look at who's committing the crimes, and it's our youth. Most of it, the majority of our crimes are committed by youth. So we got to get in their faces, and we got to find out why do they form the cliques that they form. Why do they form gangs? I'll tell you why. Because if you got a drug dealer who wants a young man to run drugs for him, all he got to do is get in that young man's life and find out the need. If a drug dealer give a young man $500 to his mother who's struggling to pay bills, that drug dealer is that young man's everything right now. He's going to do whatever he asks. So until we get back into our youth lives, partner with our nonprofit organizations, our Boys and Girls Clubs, our YMCAs, and everything, and get these youth back into the community centers that are being built, haven't finished being built, and that we need to build more of, I don't think that we can really tackle the issue of crime until we face who is committing the crimes. And it's our kids. It's our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now we will open the floor to the audience to ask questions to you all. Our audience, please remember to keep questions respectful. And if you would like to ask a question, make sure that we're not gearing those questions toward a particular candidate, and it should be general. If you have a question, please come to the middle of the aisle, and we have a mic for you, and happy to ask you questions.
Okay, on? Yes. Okay. Good evening. My question is, we talk about what we're going to do when we become mayor, but can you tell me some of the things that you're doing right now to make your community a great place to live? And I guess it's a two-part question. And how would you bring diversity to all of that?
We can be respectful in this. If you would like to start, you can start, and we'll hop around when we're answering these questions. So, Mr. Barrett.
Sure. What I'm doing right now is investing in our youth. I have spent years coaching Little League baseball, YMCA football, Hoops League basketball, soccer. I have 3 kids aged 12, 10, and 7. They've played in every sport Montgomery has to offer. I believe it starts with our kids. So in order to answer your question, what have I been doing in the community? I'm investing in the youth. But I also spend time in some of our community programs. I've spent time with Ken Austin out at Common Ground. I've spent time at That's My Child. I've spent time with Dwayne River out at Flatline Movement. It's these types of community organizations are ways that Montgomery needs to be invested without reinventing the wheels. We have to get our community centers back open. We have to. But those organizations that already exist, whether it's Common Ground or That's My Child or Flatline Movement or King's Campus or there's many others, those organizations can do more in this city than our community centers can because they're invested in the families. Our problems start at home. Just like you said, the ones committed to crime are our youth. We have to get to the youth and we have to get to their parents and offer them educational opportunities where they can finish their high school if they dropped out. Get some technical training if they need further education to get a job. So that's how you build diversity. It's in the neighborhoods. It's dealing with those community organizations that already exist. So Montgomery doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. We need to invest in those organizations that are already here and serving our communities honorably.
The way I currently help in trying to bring resolution to the community is I'm a very entrepreneur, so I know how to incorporate corporations, nonprofits, to their bylaws, operating agreements, things of that nature, being a small business owner. So people who desire to start nonprofit organizations, I give them my expertise at no charge. I help them form, brand, do their articles of incorporation, their bylaws, form their board of directors, and teach them how to run their meetings in their 501c3 status, and begin to get in the community and affect the change that they want to affect. And if they have any volunteer any events or programs, I'm always there. I'm always called away to aid them in whatever they need to further their organization and the vision of their organization.
For 2 years, I was a volunteer football coach at Gun Ground. The past 3 years, I've had a back-to-school drive for the kids in Gibbs Village. I've also done a turkey drive. I've also done a free coat giveaway. So I'm always back into my community. I see a lot of people. I had a friend of mine kind of get on to me about it because he felt as though, well, you don't live in Gibbs Village, so why do you keep going back? There are other communities or in your area that you can go out and give things to. But my heart is where I feel like I came up, and I feel like a lot of kids need it, and that's to be a village. I also go out and speak to the youth. With my 15 years in the department, 7 years was on circle. And I saw something where they had 16 years old locked up in a certain facility. So when I saw those 16-year-old boys for 30 or 40 years, it kind of got to me. So I started going around to different places talking to kids. I've been to Lowndes County, I've been to Barrington Cross, I've been to Montgomery Mayoral, I've been to different schools talking to our youth about making the right decision. So when it comes to going back to the community and trying to build something, that is something that I do.
You know, I think one of the best parts of being a mayor is you get a chance to be the cheerleader for the city, for the community. So you're always out in a number of places and spaces, whether it be our houses of worship, whether it be our community organizations, whether it be our neighborhoods. And I think, you know, for me, the best part is talking to people of all ages about how we can do better, how we can help invest in them to make sure their dreams come true. Dreams don't just stop because you get to a certain age. Most of us continue to dream long beyond, regardless of our age and adulthood. And so for us, a lot of that has been working with organizations, whether that's the 100 Black Men, whether that's my fraternity or maybe South Power Fraternity Incorporated, or whether it is working with mentoring programs that many of the fraternities, many of the organizations have. Also supporting those nonprofits that are doing good work across this city and making sure not only they have discretionary dollars that are from the city budget, but trying to link them with national corporations to make sure that there are corporate dollars coming in to support the work that they're doing. And I think for us, when we identify those young people, whether they be in debate leagues, or whether they be creating small businesses, or whether it be through providing them partnerships with Pebble grants and national foundations, that's the tremendous work that I really, really enjoy. Because to me, being that connector and being that champion for those that are in the city is the best part of the job itself. Because there's so much good happening here. There's so much positivity in the people here and the ideas here. And I think to be able to utilize the platform of mayor to bring resources and to bring a little bit of attention and a little bit of support to what's already happening are those things that I continue to do and I'll do moving forward and long after I'm out of office. Thank you.
Thank you. There has been a correction, you all. If you do desire to ask any of these gentlemen a question to the candidates as a whole, we are asking that you do stand and a mic will be brought to you by one of our volunteers. So if you do have a question that you want to ask our candidates, please do stand and we'll have a volunteer bring you a mic.
Good evening. My name is Lauren Marcel. Nice to meet you all. So my question to you all, well, we'll start with a comment. What about our young people that are without resources? And by resources, I mean without tangible opportunities to express themselves and engage with the community. So we talk about crime, we talk about the lack of safety, but we have to figure out what is going on internally with the people. And Mr. Felder, you mentioned our youth, so I'm going to start with the youth. So my question is, what about the arts? What about providing safe places for them to express themselves? And what about providing the youth opportunities to not only process the history of Montgomery, but also their reality? Because history only repeats itself if we don't do anything about it. And so my question is, what about the arts?
Great question. To me, community programming is where it starts. And if we get the right people to invest, so I feel as though if you go out and you get a survey of the people and see what the kids in that community want, and I understand art is something that you can open them up to, it gives them a different way of expressing themselves. I think you reach out to, whether it be a life coach, whether it be some type of therapist, to where you get these kids the help that they need, and they feel comfortable expressing themselves to those people. So right now, I don't think we have the right plan. If we do have plans or programs in the community center, it may be having the right person in charge of bringing these programs to the community center. So there are a lot of things that we can look at as far as community programming. The community centers, I feel as though, is where we should start. We can't get them at all community centers. Let's get the, we say, underserved or more impoverished areas, or more of your high-value crime areas, where we can get someone in and help these kids. Whether it comes through the budget or whether it comes through some type of grant or nonprofit organizations, you have to find a way to give these kids an outlet. Like I say, everybody's not going to be an athlete, Everybody is not going to be an academic scholar. We have to find a way to make sure we let these kids express themselves and give them the help that they need.
Well, concerning arts, I think that Montgomery is very privileged and blessed to have a university that has an awesome theater program out of State University. And I think for years, Camp 3T was a major staple in our community, led by Dr. Stewart and other things like that. So I think that if we could get back to partnering with ASU, maybe their theater program and their theater students, and get the kids that are in high school and junior high to be able to go over there, maybe see some of the productions, put some of the production together, and if they do so much time there, maybe the city can partner with the university to provide scholarships for them to go to school there. That'll give them the incentive to graduate high school, so they'll be able to participate further in maybe music, dance, band, singing, acting, things of that nature. So I think it's partnering with our university that has arts program. I think AUM has one as well. I know they hold a spoken poetry event, I think, once a year. So we're partnering with all the colleges and then encouraging our youth to go over there maybe after school or during the summer to see about getting Camp 3T back into the strong state that it was. Thank you.
I think the arts are very important to the fabric of any community. Creative class often really tells a story that no other entity can through the work that they do. And one of the things that we've been able to do is partner with, whether it's NEAL, whether it's other organizations that are doing great music, but also looking at the museums, looking at the things that the city currently has and offers. Our Montgomery Museum of Fine Arts, I think, is one of the best in the Southeast, if not the nation. We try to not only diversify that board from a racial standpoint, we try to make sure that we bring in the young people on that board as well. We try to make sure that we support the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, to go out into the community, bring people in who have never seen a live play. But not only that, we have reached out to national and international foundations whose passions are the arts. We have applied through Bloomberg Philanthropies for arts grants as well, because we understand not everybody that's an artist has a sponsor, if you will. It takes a lot of money to do some of those things that creatives can do. So from our standpoint, I look at branding, I look at the feel of the community coming through the arts. You have noticed, we did Black Lives Matter around the fountain. That was not my idea. I okayed it. I think it was Michelle Browder and Kevin King and maybe a few other folks who came up with that idea, but it is something that caught on. And then we started to do more murals alongside blank canvases. So there are a lot of things that we're doing at the city that we want to get behind and support, and then there's some things that we initiate ourselves. So the arts is just key to our core fabric and our core culture, and we want to continue to support that endeavor.
The arts are incredibly important to me. I've already talked about being a sports guy and a coach, but I have a wife and a 12-year-old girl who are very dyslexic, and they struggle with that. And when you have a condition like that, your brain operates differently, which is why my wife is a successful interior designer, and my little girl wants to be drawing or dancing or in drama class. It's a different mindset for people. And sometimes we overlook the mental aspect of that. So the arts are incredibly important to me because I live with it every single day. When I go out in the community and I see an art bus sitting on the campus at That's My Child, where these kids in the community can go out and paint on canvases whatever they want. You talk about having resources in the community, you're exactly right. We have to fund these community organizations that already exist. Like I said before, we have to get the community centers open, but let's not reinvent the wheel. These folks are already in the community. That art bus over there is phenomenal. Dwayne River, his whole thing is built around the arts and music. There's art, there's dance studios and music studios at That's My Child. There's King's Canvas is doing the public space art. It's super important for us because it does give these kids an outlet. And to talk about the resources, the city needs to do a better job funding those community organizations that already exist because they can do so much more outside the 8 to 5 where a community center might be open. We can get to these families, we can help these families that don't have the opportunities, that can't go to the Montgomery Museum of Fine Arts, that can't go to the Shakespeare Festival. Those places are awesome. But we have such good operators in these community organizations that are giving these kids outlets in the arts, and we have to continue to push those.
Okay, what is your 4-year plan for Montgomery, Alabama, or vision 2027? And why should we select you to be our mayor?
You want to pick who goes first?
Oh. No, sir. If you're ready, you pull his mic up. So go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
It's fine. My vision for the next 4 years is to make sure everybody has a voice. One of the things I hear when I go to HOA meetings is, how are you going to involve our neighborhoods? How are you going to involve? I went to the Seth Johnson HOA down in South Montgomery, and to a person, they said, well, how are you going to involve us? Well, now they're putting together a forum where I can go speak to the South Alliance because I believe it involves every single person here needing a voice in the mayor's office, whether that's an open door policy every single day. I can't. My vision for this is not for this to be my agenda. My vision for the next 4 years is for this to be Montgomery's agenda. And I don't know Montgomery's agenda unless I talk to the people of Montgomery. This is about me involving every single person here. I said at the very beginning, I want every single person, no matter your neighborhood, your geographic location in Montgomery, no matter your economic status, your political party, it doesn't matter. Every single person in Montgomery needs to be proud to call this place home. And if we can't involve everybody in the communication, we're not going to get to 2027 successfully. It's going to require us all. I said it before. You elect me, you're electing we. This is not my agenda. This is the agenda I hear when I go to meetings. I'm present at these meetings. I will be present at these meetings. I will invite neighborhoods to City Hall. I will have an open door policy. This won't be a black box where you throw things in and nothing comes out. This has got to be cooperation. This has got to be collaboration. My vision for 2027 is to make sure between now and then, every single citizen in this town has a voice.
My vision for the next 4 years will be to pay attention to the areas that plague our community, but also continue on the path that we're on. We can't say everything about this administration is totally bad. That would be a lie. We do have to give credit where credit is due. Everything about the current administration is not totally bad. There are just areas that this administration we feel is not paying attention to that reach our front door and touch our pillows at night when we go to sleep. We feel it. Let's be real. We want to change our view to the nation. Because today, right now, the nation is talking about Montgomery. But it's not about our statistics. It's not about our good budget. It's not about our infrastructure and all the companies we bought. They talking about the Alabama Sweet Tea Party down there on the hill. They're not talking about our good stats. So, my vision for the next 4 years will be to continue the path that we have to give respect to the man that sits in the chair and has talked about it. But to also bring to the platform those issues that we lay down here down on our pillows at night that hits our hearts, that get our family and our friends. We love the funeral business, but we don't want to keep them in business to the point where they surpass other businesses. Thank you.
I think our vision for the next 4 years is to continue what we've been doing and try to accelerate that progress. Much of that came through our Montgomery United Transition Plan. And we never had a post-election, community-wide input that resulted in a transition plan around economic development, around public safety, around parks and recreation, making sure that our city is the best city in the state and the best city in this country. And so for us, that means continuing to make sure that we're doing policing the right way, utilizing technology as a force multiplier, but also making sure that we're getting out in the community, build relationships. That's why we're getting back into middle school sports. That's why we're getting back into the police athletic league, to make sure that our men and women and our first responders are getting out into the community to build those relationships and to build those ties. But the same thing also applies to reinvesting in all parts of the community to bring about that opportunity. And that means working with our state and federal partners to really do some of the things that we want to do to bring about more access, increase public transit, increase infrastructure investment, making sure that we're generating the type of products and the type of productivity we want to see in our community. And for us, that means neighborhood reinvestment. Right here in Centennial Hill, we've applied for the Choice Neighborhood Initiative. The city never partnered with the Montgomery Housing Authority before our administration to bring out more affordable housing. We made it out of 300 plus cities that applied down to the final 11. That's why you've seen $1 million+ already put into this area. Well, next time we want to be the #1 city that gets that $40 million Choice Neighborhood grant. And right now, I think we're on our road to do that. So we want to continue to see so there's much more, but that's a snapshot of our vision for the next 4 years. Thank you.
My vision for the next 4 years is to make sure Montgomery, Alabama is the safest city in the Southeast. Not only Alabama, but in the Southeast. We can talk about the great things that we want, but if we are not safe, then how can we grow? But it will also start with the hiring of a results-driven chief human resource officer. I think a lot of times the HR strategy gets overlooked. That's where when you bring in someone who evaluates qualified personnel, then you can evaluate better pay. Then you can evaluate someone who's driven by data results. So I think when you talk about running the city, you're talking about running the business. You must have your HR department in place and on track. So my vision is to also have my cabinet, whoever that's going to be, to make sure they follow my vision, to make sure they understand my plan. Everything has to start with the leader. Everything has to start with me. And that will be one of the plans that I implement to make sure that I have the chief human resource officer and an HR strategy-driven business plan, because that's what Montgomery is. But again, if we can't be safe, how can we grow? I would like to see our police force expanded. Now, seeing extra police doesn't mean that there has to be anything going on. If you see presence, again, a lot of police presence can prevent a lot of things from taking place. So now I'm not talking about roadblocks. I'm talking about sitting in communities that are known or prone to violence and making sure crime is deterred. So again, my vision for Montgomery for the next 4 years is to make sure that we are safe and that we have an impenetrable HR strategy.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jamal Thomas with Gumtown Magazine, and we're going live. We have one of the viewers has a question. She wants to know, what programs will you all implement for at-risk youth, and how will they involve the community, churches, Department of Youth Services, and schools?
Who would like to ask this question, gentlemen, first?
I'll go get it. We have the community programs that I've already talked about. One of the things that we haven't talked about, especially that would be beneficial for the at-risk youth, is while the city of Montgomery doesn't have a direct hand with MPS in our education, we should be exploring a pre-K system, a pre-K program for the city of Montgomery, paid for by the city of Montgomery, whether that can be offered in classrooms at churches, community centers, or other locations. The only way to solve some of the problems we have is through education. And currently there are a lot of state dollars set aside for pre-K programs in this state. Montgomery doesn't have a city-funded, full-on pre-K educational program. Why not give our kids a head start with better education at age 4 and put them on the right path when they enter kindergarten and MPS? Those are the types of programs where we can engage the churches, to the question, the community centers, because we have to have locations for a pre-K program. But there's no reason a city like Montgomery, if we want to explore a public city school system, that's fine. But one thing we can do before that, because it would take a ton to unwind NPS and start our own, one thing we can do is offer a Montgomery City public pre-K program open to everyone. Fully funded, fully public.
I think the first step would be to identify the at-risk youth. Let's just be honest, we all don't know who they are. And so I think we would have to begin to, as part of the school system, partner with law enforcement, partner with the criminal system to see who has a record, what that record is, and then identify the nonprofit organizations that specialize in certain areas where some of these records come from, get to the house, see if we can aid in maybe bills, resources that play their own homes. So I think the first step would be to find a way to identify the at-risk youth and find out what the problem is.
I think the question is something similar to what the young lady asked earlier. And again, it's getting someone to the community to make sure that they are getting the right life coaches, whether they're getting therapy, identify the problem. Another thing that was mentioned to me about the juvenile, we get so much focus to adults in our prison that we don't give these juveniles that are getting out of the detention facility the attention that they need also, especially with the program. To me, I'm more trade driven. I feel as though if we offer some type of trade, whether the young women want to do hair or want to do nails, whether the young men want to fix cars or do body mechanics, I feel as though we need to offer different type of trade activities within the community to make sure that the youth mind is captured kind of early to make sure they don't venture off into doing things that they shouldn't. And they don't end up in the places where I am. So that is my take on the youth and the things that I need to do for the youth.
I think a lot of reaching young people is about making sure they're aware. And so one of the things that we try to do is reaching out to those that are connected in the community in places that we may not be as strongly represented, to make sure they're aware of the current programs that exist. When you think of the armory that we have right downtown, there are many programs that young people did not know even existed that the city was currently funding and have been funding for decades. Making people aware of what's there, making people aware of what's possible. But I also want to give a special nod to our Office of Violence Prevention, which has already started a teen intervention program to address this by not only working with our school system and those young people who are missing class, but also those who may be suffering from behavioral adjustments, and reaching out to them on the front end and connecting them to those opportunities before they come into contact with law enforcement in an adverse way. So we want to make sure we not only use the Office of Violence Prevention, but I'll go back to the increased budget we have for our Parks and Recreation Department. The Parks and Recreation Department of 2023 and 2024 is not going to look like it did in 1984 or 1994. Kids are different, young people are different, adults are different. And so part of that is everything from the designs and the programs that we offer to make it more attractive for them to utilize those spaces and connect them with not only nonprofits, but also businesses and financial institutions to teach them everything from financial literacy to health and wellness, to also make sure that we're catching them up on opportunities that may exist with our two-year colleges and workforce opportunities in the city. So that's our approach to not only dealing with some of those who may be on the margins, but also those who just may need that extra push and that extra strength to say, you can do this too. Thank you.
Good evening. Kind of continuing in the same vein of the youth, how do you plan on building a better Montgomery that our youth want to come back to? I've noticed that since graduating high school and now graduating college, there's a lot of the people that I went to school with or the people that went to other schools that graduated in the same class as me that have gone on to accept job offers and careers in other places, partially because they have those career fields in other places, but also because many people just didn't want to come back to Montgomery. And for those that did, we struggled in finding jobs suitable with our degree or jobs that were suitable with what we wanted to do in life. So how do you plan on building a Montgomery where our youth feel comfortable going back to?
Thank you for the question. I think we're already in the process of doing that. I think the $90 million whitewater facility is one of those projects that we view as a quality of place initiative. Working with the county commission, and we wanted to make sure that there were amenities here because we realized millennials and Gen Z pick the city before they choose the job. For us, it means also diversifying our economy. It's showing that as a young entrepreneur, you can start your business here, regardless of what field it's in. It doesn't have to be something that's connected to the automotive manufacturing space. It can be in technology. It can be in the arts. We want to make sure that people see the potential in this city. And I think for us, that also means a lot of collaboration and partnerships to make the city fun. We did several concerts last year, open and free to the public, because people say, there's nothing to do. So when I get off work as an educator, when I get off work as someone who works for the city, when I get off work working at Baptist Hospital, what is there for me to do? So we have consistently tried to invest and kind of spur the quality of place quotient here because we want to change that dynamic. Furthermore, what you'll see us do is investing not only in downtown, but it's also part of our retail recruitment. So when we had the West and South Montgomery Economic Development Tour, it was to identify sites that we felt were underutilized, sites that we felt would be great places for sit-down restaurants, casual places to have brunch and be able to have dinner, but also places for a jazz club, places for a comedy club. We consistently pitch that to many people who are connected to Montgomery, whether they went to Alabama State or some other college or university here, or we connected because they have family here. And asking them to invest here and telling us what do we need to do, what do we need to provide from an incentive and a maintenance standpoint to make this attractive to you? Because we realize that the quality of place here has to improve, and that's something that we're going to recruit and retain the best and brightest of our city. We've got to continue doing and moving in the right direction. Thank you.
In order to attract youth and keep youth here, you got to do what matters to them. What matters to them? When you graduate college, first thing in your mind, I got to pay these student loans off now. That's the first thing on your mind, money. I definitely don't want to call my mom again and ask her for $20 more because she don't trip. So in order to get rid of that problem, we have to create more job opportunities for them. And we can't go into other companies and make them open up job opportunities. So what do we have to do? We have to begin to block off a certain number of opportunities within our municipality government that goes to college graduates. We have to begin to give more contracts such as abandoned lots and things of that nature to youth and college graduates so they can start side business and maybe go and cut some of these abandoned lots and earn some extra money, pay these student loans off, get out of mom and daddy house so we can get rid of that curfew and do things that matter to them. Because as the old school said, you may be grown, but you're in my house, you get back in by 10. We don't want that. So we got to do things that matter to us, which is money and that bank account stacking. In order to do that in municipality government, we got to create more job opportunities for them within city administration so they can get those health benefits, get off mom and daddy health insurance, build a 401k, and start stacking that bank account.
You're exactly right. The vast majority of our kids in Montgomery who leave and go off to college and end up with a college degree go elsewhere. They go to Atlanta, they go to Charlotte, they go to New Orleans, they go to Nashville, they go to Mobile, they go to Birmingham. You're exactly right. What I said in the beginning was that we have to do a better job of recruiting the career opportunities with high-paid jobs. It starts small. Those companies that will come here to have career-focused, high-paying opportunities want to play a safe place to operate, a qualified workforce, and long-term growth opportunities. The other thing that would bring college grads back is the ability to invest in a home. Home ownership in this country is still one of the greatest single ways families can build wealth. The problem is, since 1998, home values in Montgomery have risen 59%. Contrast that with Austin, Texas, where the same home values since 1998 are up over 350%. That's a lot of lost wealth for people who would come back to Montgomery and try to own a home as an investment in their own lives, for their own families. I gotta believe there's a reason for that. It still goes back to crime. I'm a root cause kind of guy. Companies who want to come here with high-paid jobs want the growth economy. They want a safe place to operate. They want educated workforce. You're doing it. You went off to college, got a degree. We owe it to you to have a place where you can come back and still call Montgomery home.
More community engagement. I spoke with a young lady about a week ago. She was stating how she wanted Miss Team Montgomery, but she never saw anyone from the city of Montgomery come congratulate her or give her no rights. I talked to a lot of youth football coaches that are city, but they state they are city youth football coaches, and they get no funding or they get no attention from the city of Montgomery. So I don't feel as though there is enough engagement from our leadership downtown to where we make this thing attractive for the kids. Also, that's where your CBO and your economic developer come into play far as what do we need to do, what are you interested in, and how can we keep you here? So if you're not engaged with the community, we want to know what's going on with you. I also went off to college. I had plans of going and moving elsewhere, but when I came back home, it's still like, what is it to do? If you get a degree in a certain area, you want to come back home, that area of your degree and that job may not be offered here. So it's going to make you want to go elsewhere. So what can we do to make things more attractive? Again, that goes back to a strong HR strategy to where you have the correct personnel that's going to make sure that we assure that the youth or that these graduates, so that when they do go back to college, we have something here for them to come back to. So whatever field that is with the technology, where we're trying to attract some type of Fortune 500 company, how can we do it if our youth and if our college students that are graduating are not coming back home? So that's something that we have to do, be more engaged with the community.
Good evening. There needs to be an address to now the elephant in the room, and that is outside agitators. Coming into Montgomery, stirring up problems, not a native of Montgomery, does not pay taxes, and the mayor's office probably needs to start telling some of these people you're not welcome here. We need to hear from you as to what your stand on of outside folks tearing up downtown and everything else and saying nothing about it. You can do something about that. You can have them locked up. You can stop giving certain people keys to the city when they come into the city. That is a problem. Outside agitators, and address that for us.
Sir, can you please redirect the question? What is the question at the time, sir?
The question is for them to tell us if there's a plan at all for them, what it is, whether it's not giving the keys to the city, whether it is trying to have people that come into Montgomery locked up when they tear up downtown. What we keep talking about children or our children, and some of these people that giving Montgomery a bad name is not from Montgomery. So you need to address that as well. Don't just have it on one side of it. There's another side of this problem that needs to be addressed. And we asking y'all to address it. What you gonna do about it? Stand up and say to us, hey, look, I know what you're talking about. I don't go with it. And that when people come in, we gonna make sure that the city of Montgomery is safe from outside agitators. You can say that. You can do something about it. You can put the police out there since you didn't understand my question.
All right, yes, sir. So I believe the question at this time is, gentlemen, we're going to focus on this concern of people who are not from Montgomery coming into the community and people come, excuse me, Give me 1 second. Yes. So we're asking, if you were elected as mayor, what are plans in place that you would do to ensure that we're not having people come into the community, destroy the community, and taxpayer dollars? Let's focus on, we've talked about safety as far as individuals, as citizens of Montgomery, but more so specifically to those who are coming into our community and taking away opportunities and things of those things that are giving Montgomery a bad name. Does that kind of clarify that question for you, gentlemen? But also, I would like to also add that we're going to keep it in the time constraints as well. And then also, I do want our gentleman who answered the question to understand that this is a question for every candidate, so it's not just for one specific candidate. So again, we're focusing on safety and how we can recognize.
Public safety is always top of mind in the city. All these gentlemen here have emphasized safety being a priority, and that's certainly our priority as well. You don't want it to be aggressive in terms of how you deploy public safety. That usually doesn't work out very well, and it usually ends up in people being profiled. So I want us to be very clear when you say who's outside agitator. I don't know who's from outside here, who's from inside here. We welcome everybody who wants to come to Montgomery. We welcome everyone who wants to invest. Everybody who wants to volunteer. To those that create trouble, whether they be from here or not from here, trouble is trouble. And so we try to minimize that and certainly eliminate it where we can. And I think our men and women at the Montgomery Police Department continue to do that. But I think for us, the big piece is to make sure that folks understand that we're open for business, that we want all of these small business owners and many other people in this community to have outside customers, to have growth potential, to come here to see not only what we have in certain parts of the city, but throughout the city, and to potentially invest and partner with us. And so I'll close this by saying, from the standpoint of whether it be an outside agitator or inside agitator, agitation of somebody that's creating trouble is always something we want to minimize, regardless of where it is or who is creating it. And we want to make sure that we don't overdo that from our standpoint, to make sure that the city is not viewed as being welcome. We want to be welcome to everybody and open to everybody. That's how we'll continue to move under my administration.
I totally agree. Agitation is agitation. It doesn't matter if you're from inside or outside. The problem I think we have is we've gotten ourselves into a society where we don't respect one another. We don't respect one another. We don't respect other people's property. We don't respect authority. And so it's more about having mutual respect for one another. It's about working together as one community and not focusing on the items and the voices who try to divide us. We can't be one Montgomery if we don't respect one another. That takes personal responsibility. That means driving down the road and not throwing out your fast food bag on the side of the road. Don't litter. That's personal respect. That's personal responsibility. That's respecting your fellow citizens. We've somehow allowed our society to get to a place where we just don't think certain rules apply to us sometimes. It's going to take us all. I don't want to be right or left or blue or red or Democrat or Republican or rich or poor or black or white. We can't focus on division if we are going to move forward. So to say outside agitators or inside agitators, we want everybody. We want Montgomery to be a welcoming place for everyone who wants to be here. But we have to do it together. And I want to do it with you.
I think to go into a deeper explanation of your question, I think we can only deal with an agitator if they are a repeated agitator. Once they identify themselves, such as biker clubs, four-wheeler clubs that disrupt traffic and things of that nature, and things like that. Once we can identify the agitator, if they're a repeated agitator, such as ganging up at a gas station, fighting, or taking the motorbikes and riding in the middle of traffic, or motorcycles riding down the middle of traffic and And once we can identify, basically what we can do is start prosecuting them to the fullest extent of the law and make sure that it sticks, so that they cannot agitate the community or such. But we can't just immediately profile somebody, from the first look if they have to because they commit a crime.
A few years back, I think we had a group called the Leafville or something like that when they came in and they were trying to tear up downtown. And we had a state representative go live and warn everybody in the city, do not fall for the trick that these people are playing. So I feel as though we have people that are outspoken, and again, like Mr. McNeil said, that we identify the problem. So we have different events. I think we can prioritize as far as safety to where we can have enough security around to try and prevent certain things from taking place. But again, we have to know there's going to be a problem to try to identify. If people are just coming to the city to have fun, then we can't predict what's going to take place while they're here. I think I'm going to be representative.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm a social studies educator, and I would like to know, as mayor of Montgomery, in all of the civil rights and slavery history that exists here, do you believe NPS schools should teach standards that advocate slaves benefited from slavery? And what advocacy can you, as mayor, lend your voice to ensure the truth about these topics are taught?
Again, our school system is not a city school system. The mayor has limited authority when it comes to what happens in that classroom. But as far as advocacy, which I think what you're asking for, because the mayor can be an advocate on behalf of the citizens, a public servant and voice for your opinion, and that is to show up to school board meetings, and as well as you show up with the mayor to the school board meetings and to the state school board meetings to advocate what you want in your own city. Sign petitions, get behind one another, hire attorneys, hire consultants, do surveys of your communities, and go to these board of education meetings, take a stand and make your voice heard. And I think that if the mayor leads the tribe, it makes it more strong. Thank
you. To your question, we don't set policy for education. And I think it's a larger question because it's one of those that I feel like is a national political debate, and you have to take a side on the right or the left. And I've said from day one, I'm of the Montgomery Party. I'm not going to get into national political narratives that only divide us. I'm not an educator. My wife's not an educator. I think educators are some of the most important people in our society because it starts with kids, because that's the next generation. The State Department of Education would set curriculum, and I agree, you need to be involved in your school board meetings. The issues we face in Montgomery are local issues, and we need to shift our focus to making sure Montgomery is a place every single person is proud to call home. It needs to be safe. It needs to be clean, and it needs to have high-paying career opportunities. I'm going to leave national political narratives to the national politicians who make a living doing that. I don't care about Washington. I don't care about Goat Hill down here. I want to be right here. I want to be the mayor for one Montgomery. I don't want to focus on divisive issues. We can't do that if we're going to succeed here. We have to come together as one Montgomery if we're going to make this place better.
Well, that is a state issue, but I don't think it should be taught. I will state that. Also, I feel as though if the parents are involved, like they're mentioned, if you go down to the school board and you pay attention and you are active in your child's education, I don't think certain things will be allowed. So if you get an overall look as to where things of this nature are taking place, how active are the parents that are allowing this to take place? So again, I would love it if there was a situation to where the city or the leadership within the city had a more say-so in this matter, but we don't.
I think it's important that we understand that the office of mayor comes with much more than what Act 618 gives it as the chief executive of the city. And so to answer your question, no, enthusiastically no, should slavery be taught in that way in our schools. And that means partnering with our local school board, if it means partnering with our local legislators to make sure those things that are national, stay national, then we'll do just that. The problem, though, is what's national ends up at the state. And what happens at the state ends up local. And so I think when you're in this position, you're asked to do a lot more. And you should. You're expected to do more. You're the mayor of Montgomery. It's the birthplace of the civil rights movement. You're expected to do just more than balance the budget and make sure the trash is picked up on time and make sure that the city is safe. You're expected to be an advocate. You're expected to represent those who have not. And if you're familiar with government, you recognize that our legislature has gotten into local government quite a bit. And I think it's very important for us to understand whose hands are behind that. And there's many other hands that are supporting one of my opponents up here. So it's very important for us to understand whose hands are local, we want Montgomery, but on the other issue, you're taking money from those who push forward to hold Montgomery back and to bring those national issues to the state level and then to block Montgomery from growing at the local level. Those are major issues. And we're going to partner and work with any of our elected officials at the county level, school board, our state school board, our local delegation, and legislators to push back on any and all progress that we have gained to see it roll back because people want to do just that. I'd like to address that for a reason. Again, I'm sorry, I want to make sure you can see me. Thank you for the question. I think for the city of Montgomery to truly reach its potential, we have to be honest about our past. Yeah. And I don't think that we've been honest about it. I think we've covered it up and we've shampooed a lot of things in our past. We have to have honest conversations. And we are home to the Equal Justice Initiative Legacy Museum, which brings in hundreds of thousands of people each year, which has made this the second most visited tourist city in this state. It's very significant. But if we don't put those things into practice, into policy around poverty, around affordable housing, around access to health care, around access to a quality education, then it means nothing. And I think what the city has wanted to do in the past is put out cute marketing slogans, but not practice what we preach. And so we have to talk about the issue of race, how it still is a challenge for us in this community, but also how we overcome it. You cannot overcome it by just hoping and wishing so. You have to be intentional and deliberate And you have to understand when it comes to the wealth gap, when it comes to the education gap, when it comes to the healthcare gap, many of these things are driven right along the lines of race. And so when we make financial institutions do what they need to do to support black and women-owned businesses, that's for a reason. When we talk about the healthcare disparity that exists, not only just here in Montgomery, but throughout the Black Belt, and we have these conversations with Baptist Health and other healthcare providers, that comes back to issues around race. So we have to make sure that as a community we're mature enough, and I believe we are, to not only have the conversation, but to then be cognizant of what action we must take. That is ongoing and will continue to be ongoing, but we have to make sure we don't just act like it doesn't exist because we don't want to talk about it.
When you look at the riverboat situation, yes, race was a part of it, but at the end of the day, also lack of respect for each other in our police force, because our police force was standing right there. They didn't have to be called, they were already right there. And those people knew I could just act up right in front of them, and they ain't gonna do nothing. I'll be right back out. So we don't even respect our police force because they're not equipped the way they need to be equipped. So yes, race does play a part in it. But until we can have a local administration that celebrates every holiday, black, white, Indian, Japanese, or anybody who's in this community, every holiday, not just African American holidays, not just, the one organization of holidays, but a city hall that is universalified for everybody, every race. We're going to have race issues. But we have to piggyback on being unified, keeping an open door policy, and gaining the respect back of our police force from youth and everyone else. Thank you.
When I played football at Jeff Davis in the late 90s, a lot of things mattered. Practice mattered, workouts mattered, games mattered, competition mattered, teammates mattered. The one thing I can say that didn't matter in that locker room was my skin color. I want to be a place that mimics that locker room. We have issues that led to the problems on Saturday. I've talked about it before. We don't respect one another. The city employee on the dock in a position of authority simply doing his job was attacked. That's not okay. That's a personal respect issue. We have to understand, we have to be mature enough to talk about race, but we have to be mature enough to overcome it. We have to be mature enough to understand that it's not a limitation for us. That we can do this as one city of Montgomery. We can address issues like healthcare and education and places in city government. But we have to be willing to actually do it and not sit in our silos that are currently dividing us. It didn't matter then, and it doesn't matter to me now. My only goal here is to make every single person in Montgomery proud to call it home. And that's not about race for me. We will overcome the issues if we work together.
Being in a different position in this race than I was last time, I've been able to be in a lot of different rooms, and I get asked the question a lot. And before they try to insinuate, I let them know, regardless of how you feel about Steve Reed, he's walking black history. So once we go ahead and get that part out of the way, then we can continue the conversation, because you have to separate your personal from your policies. If you have a disagreement with policies, then that's different from your personal. So again, we've come a long way from where we were, where we still have a lot of things to work on as a city. And there's a lot of people behind the scenes that say one thing about unity, but they do another thing. So I feel as though once you separate those two and have a better understanding of the politics that are being played, then we can grow more as a people So the situation was unfortunate that took place. Safety and unity is part of my platform, and I feel as though if we don't use divisive measures as far as picking a political party, that's going to divide. So in a non-partisan seat, if you keep talking about you're this and you're trying to sway people over this side, and you already know if a person was in this seat, regardless of what they said or denied, we can speculate, but we don't know for sure what this person's party affiliation was. That further divides the city to make people pick a side. I don't have a side. I stay neutral. I feel as though from the help that I receive, from the rooms that I've been in, and the people that I've talked to, once they understand that I'm genuine about it, my intent is pure. Most of them may back off. Most of them may see I don't have a play. Because I'm sincere about the job that I want to do for the city of Montgomery, and I'm sincere about unifying everyone as one Montgomery, regardless of the race, religion, or their political affiliation.
All right, my audience members, I did not mean to lie in the house of the Lord, so Lord forgive me and y'all forgive me as well. We do have one more question. I mean, one more question. So go ahead and ask your question.
How we doing? You can hear by my accent that I'm not from the neighborhood. My name is Lou Ballasteri. I'm retired from the NYPD. I come from a family of 14 cops. Back in the 80s and 90s, I and my team of cops were responsible for overtaking the crime that went on in New York City. And we did that by being proactive as opposed to being reactive. And that's what policing is all about. Don't let things happen. Let's stop it before it happens. I want to know why the Montgomery Police Department and the Sheriff's Office do not work together. Put their differences or whatever's going on aside and work together and hit these high crime areas, okay? Community policing does not work until the police take the streets back. That has to be done, okay? Then people have the confidence to go along with the police. I was a community patrol officer. In addition to that, I worked in the largest organized crime case in the history of New York law enforcement. I took $300 million of organized crime money. We just did a movie on it, okay? I want to know why we're not working with the FBI, the ATF. We have the DEA. We have fentanyl going crazy. We have human trafficking going crazy. We have prostitution going crazy. Nobody addresses it. I pull into a gas station, and I can tell that they're pumping right out of the gas station here. Okay? I want to know what I'm the only man that sees this. Okay? That's number one. Number two, I am a United States Olympic judo coach. I started Olympic judo back in 1970 when Jesus was an altar boy. Okay? I have tried my very best to bring judo down here to Montgomery, Alabama. I have... Is it one up? Okay, I'm sorry. Why can't we have the Ultimate Warrior Training Center and give me your kids and let's train them in judo? Because kids that can fight won't fight. Stop.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for that, sir. We appreciate you at this time. But actually, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this evening. So we do want to say thank you for our candidates, and most importantly, those in the audience, those who were able to ask questions tonight. So before we go ahead and close, we're going to have Kanisha Brown from Rolling to the Polls Initiative come and speak to you all for a moment. Kanisha, please do come. We gotta also do closing statements, so we're gonna pivot, right? I'm tired of sitting down. Hey y'all, I'm back again. Yes, so gentlemen, before we do close and have Kanisha come and speak with you, speak to the audience, we do want to give you an opportunity to do closing statements. Who would like to begin?
Woman.
Popcorn, just go ahead. Victorious Failure, if you'd like to get up, you can.
Okay, thanks again for you all hosting this event. Thanks for you all staying to the end of this event. If anything after this, you should know where I stand as far as my platform. Safety first, safety first, safety first. Again, I have 15 years with law enforcement. I have been working on this plan since 2019. I never stopped campaigning, so to speak. I never stopped trying to find a way, how can we make Montgomery better? How can we make Montgomery safe? After seeing these deadliest years take place. This year, we're on the verge of having another deadliest year in the history of Montgomery. So we can't keep overlooking what's going on. We can't keep swaying towards our friends and supporting them because we're their friends and we like them. We have to address the issue. We have to tackle this issue head on. We have to work together as far as reducing crime. So again, tonight, if crime is an issue for you, and you feel as though I gave a great platform on crime, then I'm a candidate. Everyone has an option. Crime is not everyone's problem, I understand it. But I think crime right now is the forefront of what's taking place in Montgomery, and I feel as though I have the best platform to decrease crime in Montgomery. Thank you.
Thank you again for having us. I think this is an extremely informative event. Thank you for Delta Sigma Theta and Alpha Kappa Alpha for having us here. Thank you for Hutchinson Missionary Baptist Church for hosting this event. I think these types of events are the part that I enjoy about campaigning for mayor. I like getting to hear from the community. I like meeting new people and new faces. For me, it's a simple question. Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I think we all deal with crime issues. We all deal with clean street issues. We all deal with wanting to make sure that we have better, high-paying job opportunities so that our college graduates, like back here in the back, can come back to Montgomery and feel like she has an opportunity. That's what I'm focused on. I want to make sure that every single person who calls Montgomery home is proud to do so. And I hope to earn your vote on August 22nd.
In closing, I would just like to encourage everybody in the room to visit each candidate's website. All four of us have a website, and view our platforms in entirety. And if so, contact us, talk to us. We can't cover everything on this stage, and we might not answer the question where you want it to be answered. So contact our campaign teams. You may not be able to talk to each candidate personally, yes, but go and view everybody's website, view their platforms, and contact them. Thank you.
I want to thank everyone who's involved in